All right, you guys. I wanted to share with you, how I plan out my Brussels sprouts. This will be my second attempt at growing Brussels sprouts. I grew them once before. Matter of fact, it was this past spring, I believe, and didn't do quite that well. I wouldn't exactly call it a success story because they didn't grow. They grew large, huge, huge. The stalk is really thick. The sprouts themselves, they grow, supposed to grow uniformly on this large, thick stalk, and they look like little tiny cabbages. So they did grow really large, but the problem I think was that I placed them too close together. I placed them in a raised bed. I didn't realize how large they would get. I placed them really close together, and they just didn't grow well. And I wish I had pictures to show you. If I find some pictures on how my Brussels sprouts looked last spring, I will post them on the screen and you can see. So I wouldn't exactly call it a success story, but I learned a lot from that first experience. So this time, planting out my Brussels sprouts, grew them from seed, and I'm going to make sure that they have a little area to themselves. They take a long time to grow. They take a really long time to grow. They need room to grow, and you really need to just give them a little space all to themselves and just put them over in a place in the garden and just leave them alone and let them take their time and do what they're supposed to do. So that's one thing I learned. I also am going to make sure that it has plenty of micronutrients. Plenty of micronutrients. So I am using a really good fertilizer. I've been favoring this one because it's loaded with really good micronutrients, things like boron and copper, iron, manganese, zinc. So I really like this one. And then also the NPK is really good. 11, 15, 11. 11 in nitrogen, 15 in phosphorus, and 11 in potassium. So I really like this. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up these little roots here. Ooh, it's already really moist, so I may not have to water it in. Okay, make sure it's in there. Deep. And then I'm going to start filling in. I was adding nutrients to the soil. I added bone meal, blood meal. I also added biotone. I'll place that on the screen also. I like biotone, biosmoma. It helps reduce transplant shock, and it's really good for establishing roots. So I like to use that. I sprinkle that directly in the planting hole. But the soil itself, I made sure it was a good, nutrient-rich, well-draining soil. Okay, it had a compost, and I wanted to use a compost that I feel is safe. Because sometimes when you use composted cow manure, you never know if it's composted properly, and you may have an issue with it. But I like to use mushroom compost. So that's what I used this time, just to be on the safe side. And so I have mushroom compost in here. Oop, I broke a little leaf, but I think it'll be okay. Mushroom compost. I have, so I showed you the fertilizer that I used. I also have this fertilizer in there. I like this because it has the beneficial soil microbes and the mycorrhiza. Okay, a lot of us use this. So that is what I consider the pre-plant soil. I made sure that it was rich with nutrients. I made sure we had perlite for drainage, a good base. So pre-plant soil, good, rich with nutrients, organic matter, and then directly in the planting hole, I actually added bone meal, blood meal, and the biotone directly in the planting hole. Okay, so now that one's planted. I'm going to go to the second one, and I will mulch this in to make sure that the soil that top layer of the soil is protected from erosion. That's one thing that mulch does. It protects that top layer of soil from being like when you water it, or if it rains, that water or the rain will just kind of knock the soil around. But if it's mulched in, it will protect the soil from erosion, and also it will help retain moisture in the soil. Okay. Okay. Here goes the second one. Same procedure. Okay. Loosen up those little roots. All right. So I want to make sure it is completely ready. So I'm just going to set it aside and let it do it. Let it grow at its own pace outside of the everything else that's going on in the garden. So that's what I read. It's like give it a space off in part of your garden where you're not worried about like harvesting all around it and doing different things. You want it to be just left alone because it takes a really long time to grow. I will place the maturity date on the screen. I like this particular mulch because of the color, but you can tell they just basically took some old planks and chipped it up. That's what that is. I can tell it's like old pallets and planks that they chipped it up. But I'm gonna use and they just shredded it pretty much. But I'm gonna use it because I have it. Okay. I bought it. I'm gonna use it. This is not the usual mulch that I use. I use the regular brown mulch, but I had found this on sale, so I got it, and I use it from time to time, so it won't go to waste. So I think it looks nice. Okay. So the root ball itself was good and saturated. You saw that. But I want to make sure the surrounding soil also is watered. Trying to stay away from the center. Just making sure the rest of the soil is watered in. I've watered my new transplant in. I've labeled the container. I mean, there's no way in the world I can forget what's in this container because it's a distinct look. It's going to be a huge plant, large leaves, and a long, thick stalk, and these little sprouts are going to begin to form on there. So, but got them labeled, got them watered in, so we're done with this. But before I sign off, you guys, I want to show you what I placed in those two areas. The one where I uprooted the eggplant, and over there in that blue raised bed where I harvested that cabbage, and I took the root out of the soil because I wanted to plant something else in that area. So let me show you what I planted in those two vacant spots. Okay, so remember over in this area, you guys, I uprooted my eggplant. And in its place, I put two cabbages. That variety is Bonnie's Best. Measured it, made sure it was at least 12 inches apart. Now, over here, let's see what I planted in the other raised bed. All right, remember in this area, I uprooted and harvested my last cabbage out of this bed, and in that spot I have placed 3 celery plants. So we have these that are right there in the middle. They've been in there a while. Look how nicely they're growing. Now next to it we have a new set of celery plants just planted out. So these in the middle are going to mature way before these do. Okay, so everything looks pretty good. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. It's actually late in the day and the sun is about to go down. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye now.